Buenos dias, bienvenido, and welcome back to another 5K tennis discussion. You like that drop and shocking surprise of Espanol? So you didn't expect that one. It is April 30th, Tuesday, and we are here for show number 67 of the 2019 ATP and WTA seasons. Nice to be back. We had about a 4-day break from doing the show. It wasn't a break for us. I know that we have been extremely busy with coaching. I think 3 of our 5 children went down with pink eye. And the normal thick of things, we were left with about a 4-day delay. So it is very nice to be back. Also, we have a dear family friend, shout out to Dave Rains, here to play tennis with us from the Cincinnati area here in the United States. So hopefully everyone is well. I know that we have a lot to talk about. We have, I think, 4 tournaments to finally pitch the results out that we missed. We'll discuss that. And we'll discuss some topics as well. So again, great to be back. By the way, please like our videos and subscribe to our channel. It's always very helpful to us so that we know we are doing our best at getting better for all of you. Also, feel free at any time to give us comments or ideas or topics to discuss on these shows. Again, we do this show for you, and this is kind of a fun tennis family, so please feel free to discuss in the comments any topics that you want us to discuss, and we have one of those today. All right, so the first thing up for today is going to be a short, fun kind of story that Carla and I came across that came out of the Detroit, Michigan area, and it really has nothing to do with tennis, but it was really funny to me when I got to thinking about it, so I figured we would bring it up. All right?
Real funny, I'm sure.
So picture this. So in the Detroit, Michigan area, which again, if you're abroad and not in the United States, it's a northern state in the United States, on the Great Lakes area, let's put it that way. Not that geographics have anything to do with where I'm going, but just kind of putting everything into perspective. So there were 2 different police precincts involved in this snafu, or this rather comical incident. So one police precinct had a undercover group of officers that were set up as drug dealers, and when buyers would come in, they would arrest the buyers, okay? There was another police precinct not too terribly far away where they had undercover officers that were undercover as buyers, and when they bought illegal drugs, narcotics, whatever, then they would arrest the dealers. Okay, so you have undercover police officers that are dealers, and you have undercover police officers that are buyers with no communication with one another whatsoever. Fast forward in time, the group of buyers, officers, goes to this operational dope dealing home and buys some drugs, and lo and behold, they attempt to arrest the dealers. Well, the dealers, being police officers themselves, when the buyers attempted to arrest them, they looked at them and were like, hey, now you're really in trouble because we're police, and now you're going to jail for, what is it called, being, in other words, being something you're not supposed to, impersonating an officer, I think it is. So anyway, so you have the buyers that try to arrest the dealers. The dealers try to arrest the buyers, and they both think one another. I mean, can you imagine being in that situation? Can you really? Hey, you're under arrest. No, I'm a cop, buddy. Now you're really going down because not only you are impersonating an officer, but you have a gun. Oh, you're really getting it. What are you talking about? I'm a cop. No, you are. One of us is fake. What's going on here? Can you imagine that?
Like I said before, a lot of money spent for no reason. They were both investigating each other.
I think it was a pretty good sting, but I think the sting was rather comical. I wish I would have
wasted a lot of city money on it.
Yeah, woo. All right.
A lot of tax money.
Anyway, I don't even know why I brought that up. I came across this earlier this morning when I was writing this after a couple of days of not, and I thought it was rather hilarious. And maybe it's not as funny if you didn't read the same article that I read, but nonetheless, I'm glad no one got to going crazy in that situation. Yes. But I thought it was rather funny. All right, so second topic or second thing up today is this, and I'm going to kind of bring this up. We talked about it before, and we're going to tie it into a couple of viewer comments that I was involved, or we were involved with the discussion yesterday. All right? So why is Rafael Nadal losing and looking vulnerable? Why? Why is it, Carla? Can you give me some ideas of why?
I've heard your ideas, and I mean, obviously he's getting older. His body's more tired. Personally, what I think is that he's a little bit vulnerable, but I don't think he's giving his all to win these tournaments. He doesn't have to win them. I think he might want to reserve. He's reserving some energy for the French Open. I think we'll see a different Nadal at the French Open. I don't think he doesn't really look bad as we think he looks, you know? I think it's a game.
So
I'm hoping it's a game.
We've discussed this at length, yourself and me, and I got into a discussion with your father, Nathan. So if you're watching this, I'll bring him up. But we were outside the other day and we were discussing this, and Nathan had a really good take on this one. He's a huge Nadal fan, Spanish tennis player, trained Carla, etc. So I will respect what he says, and he brought up a good point. It seems to be that Nadal is hitting a little bit shorter on the court. Nadal has capitalized on clay by hitting deep, heavy topspin and pushing people back. Well, in order to hit deep, especially on clay consistently, to win the amount of tournaments that he has won, almost undeniably, you have to have incredible leg strength. So is it the case that he's slowing down maybe a little bit in the legs and therefore hitting shorter, allowing people to now step in and hit through his shots instead of kind of standing up or backing away or chasing them down? So I think your father has a good take in that his legs may be beginning to fade away. Therefore, Nadal's hitting shorter and allowing people to have more offensive shots when it comes to returning his. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree, yeah. If you watch a lot of the matches he's lost, or even once he's played and barely won, his shots are really short. They're landing in the service line, which is rare for him because he has a full Western grip and he hits with deep topspin, and he's not doing that.
And I'm not going to get into the full Western grip either.
I'm just saying it creates more spin. Not that there's anything wrong with the grip. I use it. I'm talking about it gives you more spin. More spin. And the strings do too.
And yeah, we're not going to bring up grip here because we have a big show and we're already at almost 8 minutes in, and we don't want to have the pace so fast that you can't follow what we're saying here. So the Western grip, though, I find is very cumbersome. I find it very difficult and kind of rigid and straining on the body. But you can comment on that. What do you think about the semi-Western grip in comparison to Eastern or semi-Western or any other grip? But I think semi-Western is the least user-friendly of all of them.
You play with a semi-Western, though.
I do? No, I meant full Western.
Okay.
Sorry. If I said yes, I play with semi-Western.
Okay.
I find the full Western being almost unbearable to play with.
I'm 39, about to be 40, and I haven't felt anything by it.
So take two on this Nadal question that we're discussing here. Is it or could it be that Nadal is conserving energy? We all know that top players will do this before major tournaments. In other words, we've discussed on previous shows. Some of these players that can afford to do so, number one by ranking, or number two by the amount of money in their bank accounts, sometimes you'll get players that will kind of cruise control, and if they get really tested, then they may not want to tax their body for the inevitable major that is upcoming. Because I think at the end of the day, because of these type theories on players maybe not putting forth 100%, I don't think it's quite in anyone's best interest to compare head-to-heads or best of all time by comparing some of these Masters 1 tournaments or some of these 500 level tournaments, and the same thing corresponding on the women's side, because the elite with the deep pockets sometimes won't put up their best, but everyone tends to do that in majors, right?
Is that why Djokovic has been losing too?
It could be. Is that why Djokovic? I mean, we have to understand that these big three players, Federer, Obviously, who's going to be in the mix this year? Djokovic, Nadal. They haven't had great clay court seasons. Federer's been non-existent on clay for a while, or any surface that any of these players don't capitalize on very well. I mean, didn't Nadal used to take hard court tournaments off at some point, or play lesser?
He did play lesser, and he lost early.
So we have to think about how much energy we're expending here. I don't think that I would buy into any of the Nadal drama at this point. Do you think the hype of him being potentially injured is being blown out of proportion?
Of course. I mean, we're always expect Nadal to win all these tournaments. He usually does. That's why he has 11 and 12 of them, you know?
Yeah, and also...
Or 6 or 7 in the next ones that are coming up. But we always expect Nadal to do his very best in clay. It's a shocker that he's lost twice already.
Well, okay, so he loses to Thiem in Barcelona. He loses to Fognini in Monte-Carlo. I don't care if he lost 10 more semifinal matches or whatever in a 2 out of 3 set tournament anymore at this point in his career, if we're running up to the French Open, until somebody beats Rafael Nadal on clay in 3 out of 5 sets. In other words, at a major, I would definitely still have Rafael Nadal as my number 1 and by far favorite to still win the French Open. Agree or disagree?
I'm in the middle there. I'm not quite sure yet. I want to see what he does in this next few tournaments, and I don't know. For some reason, I think we'll have a new French Open champion.
Also, think about this. A lot of these tournaments, pretty much all of them that get the top players, they are pretty much paying the players to come, okay? So if a player has, with the likes of Rafael Nadal in this context, that's who we're talking about, elects to go to Barcelona, yeah, he wants to sell tickets. Yeah, he wants to put on a show, or anybody else in this situation. But ultimately, I think what we've seen is Nadal get pushed a good bit. We've seen he's hitting shorter, so I think that he's not using his legs like he will be doing in Roland Garros in Paris. I don't think that he is giving 100%. I think 75%, and that has enabled him to do pretty much statistically better than anyone on clay this year. I mean, yeah, he's lost some matches, but I think across the board went to 2 straight semifinals.
And the 2 players he lost to are not, they're good players.
They're good players too.
Thiem's been to, he was in last year's French Open final, and he was supposed to win one, and Fognini's not a bad clay player. I mean,
not bad, but I don't care if Nadal plays either one of them at the French Open, i.e. the Roland Garros. I think Nadal wins in no more than 4 sets to each one of those players, Fognini or Thiem, even if he played one in the 3rd round and then followed up by playing another one in the 4th round. And that could happen depending upon how the draws come out. But I would still take Nadal to go through both of them at the French and then ultimately win it, my second choice being Roger Federer. So this leads us to our next topic, which actually came from 2 of our viewers in relation to a question that we had last show. I asked everyone to give us a list of, as of right now, your top 5 contenders for the French Open on the men's and women's side, and a couple of substitutes, okay, and maybe a dark horse or 2, okay? So we got a response from Anis Zazou. What's up, man? What's up, bro? Hope you're good. I do, by the way, look forward to our bet, Anis, on this upcoming French Open. I think. So
you say Federer will win, and he's saying.
Yeah, my call is Roger Federer will win it.
And he's saying who?
He's saying that Roger Federer just won't. He just has. The bet is, if you haven't followed this, Anis Zazou has, and I have a bet, and my bet is that Roger Federer's going to win the French. I think Nadal's going to do it, but hey, I'm a Federer fan. And I think he has a shot, and I think he wants to add another chapter to his story, and wouldn't it be great if he won the French? So I'm willing to take a bet that I will do something humiliating on this show, and vice versa him, if Roger Federer does or does not win the French Open. However, Anis put forth his contenders for the French Open with a couple of substitutes. So listen to this one real quickly. All right, here are his contenders, okay? The first 3 are the same person, okay? Number 1, Rafael Nadal. Number 2, Rafael Nadal in Monte-Carlo form. In other words, the tournament where he lost to Fognini.
You did that?
Number 3, Rafael Nadal injured. Okay, straight up.
So he's saying is 1, 2, 3 is still Rafael Nadal.
Well, 1, 2, 3, no matter which form, then that's the way I read it. Anish, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I agree with you, just so you know. I agree, we're on the same brainwave here. His third choice in this case, which would be his fourth choice, would be Dominic Thiem, and his fifth choice, which really would be his third choice, because of his confidence in any form of Nadal here, as I do as well, would choose Novak Djokovic. Yeah. A couple of substitutes that he has, Roger Federer and the young Alexander or Sasha Zverev, and some dark horses being Stefano Tsitsipas, the Greek, and Fabio Fognini, the beautiful beard Italian.
He's got to teach Berenti a few things.
All right. Actually, I had a Berenti thought earlier.
I was watching Berenti. I was like, he could use some tips from Fognini there.
I think Berenti has done pretty well this clay court season as well. I think he suffered a loss, maybe even today, but I know there's a couple tournaments going on, and we'll get into that. A great question just after Anis Zazou put forth his selections came from a viewer who I don't think I had an opportunity to speak with before. Maybe so, maybe not, but I don't think so, and that is a Jeffrey Kaufman. A great question he had, and I really enjoyed this one when thinking about it. So Jeffrey's question was this: how can you, speaking to Anis, how can an injured Nadal be picked over Thiem or Novak, obviously being healthy, right? So this is a great question, and I think we need to look at the stuff that we just spoke about, okay? Is the hype about the Nadal injury even true, or is it a good excuse, conspiracy theory maybe, for him to push 75% and lose a couple of matches and not really tear up any fan base or ruin his agreement that he had with the tournament to show up and play in the first place? Could it be? I'm not postulating conspiracy theories, but could it be?
If he's going 75%, that means he won't win one of these tournaments. So he's going to go into the French Open with no tournament, no clay tournaments.
I think, again, we're not going to get into how we talk about the greatest of all time. I'm not going into that again. We beat a dead horse with that, but I think we do it by counting majors, period. Again, I don't believe in saying, oh, well, this guy's better than that guy because he's got more head-to-head and he's won this many Masters 1000s or Women's Premiers or whatever it may be, because I think ultimately the ultimate count at these guys' levels where you have 15 and 17 and 20, I think it's adding another one. I don't think the context applies to players that have never won one or may have one or may have two, but when you got 15, 17, 20, I think the mindset of let me not tax my body so much and let me not run every ball and risk an each week or an abdominal strain or whatever it may be in one of these smaller tournaments, when my goal now at this point in my career is to add another major under my belt. Disagree or agree? Could it be? Could it be? Well, I mean, why would Nadal really want to push 100% to win another Monte-Carlo, which he already has 11, another Barcelona, which he already has 11? He already has 11 French Opens, but now his body is obviously starting to slow.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're wanting to approach the mighty Federer and separate yourselves from Novak a little bit, I think it's in your best interest to go real slowly, keep up with your sponsors, make your appearances. But if you get really pushed to the ultimate level, how far do you want to push it? Simply to maybe reduce your level of success at the granddaddy of them all for Rafael Nadal, which is the mighty French Open, right? Could it be?
It could be. Makes sense.
So why would I still pick an injured Nadal over the rest of the field? If it was true that he was injured, I get that he has lost 2 tournaments. Okay, and has not won them, and it's a rarity, right? It's a rarity. How often does the same person win any clay tournament back to back? All right,
only Nadal.
Only him. So why? Put it this way: until I see Rafael Nadal get beat in 3 out of 5 sets at a major where it truly counts, where he is going to give it 100% through injury until he can't play anymore and taps out, he is going to be the reason, injured or not, why I still think he wins the French Open. And the same reason why I think at this point Roger Federer will win Wimbledon. And we'll get into that as we pre-into Wimbledon. But I don't think anybody will beat Roger this year at Wimbledon either. But that's another story for another day. But until somebody beats Rafa at the French Open, he will be my heavy favorite, no matter what. Federer this year is second.
Even though you made a bet that Federer's going to win.
Yes, well, I did that. I still am going to honor my bet, obviously. I'm not changing my mind. I still think Federer can win, and I'm confident to take a humiliating bet for the fun of it. But if I had to put my house on it and I was forced to, you gotta bet your house or something bad's gonna happen, I'd say, okay, well, I'm putting my house on Nadal.
All right.
Okay? All right, so moving forward, a little bit of tennis news. Sloane Stephens gets engaged to be married. Okay?
Good for her. Congratulations.
Congratulations, first and foremost. Congratulations, most importantly. Courtship, going out and dating and meeting someone and going through getting to know one another. In other words, relationships all take time and energy, right?
Yes.
I think relationships are very taxing in a good way, and some you go through your ups and downs, but it's really hard, I think, to focus 100% on a really intense sport such as tennis if you are going through that. Again, congratulations, but could this type of courtship and young relationship, which obviously is doing well, and we hope it always does well, but could this be one of the reasons why we've seen a lull from Sloane Stephens over the past, say, year at this point?
I don't think so. I mean, she's always been that type of player, up and down, and with her, I don't think it's a relationship thing. That's just the type of player she is. I think it's hard for her to focus. There's a lot of professional players out there in relationships, and they're winning. Married, they're winning.
Understood.
And a marriage is tougher because you work on a marriage,
Understood. I think there is some correlation here. Again, as a lifetime player, a coach myself, you, our families, and
she's like 25, 26. She's not a junior anymore.
At this level, though, if we're talking about winning majors and being the elite of the world, I think it's safe to say that when we have a lot going on, that sometimes our training and our focus on our training drops a bit. Let's look at Eugenie Bichard and her swimsuit models. Look, our swimsuit shoots.
She did that because she can't really.
Well, I think she made the final of Wimbledon in 2014. She got limelight. Oz was a pretty girl. I think she got a cover of Tennis Magazine that everybody liked. Next thing you know, she's in swimsuit suits, and she hasn't won really anything since. What happened with Kornikova and Ivanovic? Well, I can't really say Ivanovic because
never did that.
It happened at the end of her career.
Yeah.
She won, then retired, and then okay.
Yeah.
But it happens. I think this is a very good reason why Sloane Stephens' level of intensity has dropped. Maybe even part of the reason why she relinquished the coach. And furthermore, I would like to see a correlation between two sports athletes that get together that play different sports and find out if either one of their levels tend to drop or if they both do. So in this scenario, I think the gentleman that she's engaged to is a professional soccer player. Mm-hmm. I would like to see his statistics before going through courtship because it can't just be one way. So
it did happen to Wozniacki and Roy McIlroy. I remember.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and I remember the reason why he left. He said that it was a distraction, being around her. And that's why he could not go through with the relationship.
Yeah,
then he won. Then he started winning.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
He won a title, I remember, after that.
I think it's very interesting. Carla and I, again, we met through the game. We competed against one another, and one thing led to another. And 5 kids later, here we roll. But at the end of the day, I think it's much more favorable for two tennis players or two soccer players because they may share the same passion to move forward. But I would like to see the correlation of professional statistics if you have a pro athlete of two different rodeos per se, and see how their levels is it positive or is it negative?
I'm trying to think of a famous couple.
Rory McIlroy was a good example. You came up with that one. I didn't come up with that one. A great example, and it did negatively affect both players.
Yes.
All right, moving forward, Naomi Osaka pulls out of Stuttgart just prior to a match with Annette Kontaveit.
Right. She had an ab strain.
With an abdominal strain. Yeah. Need for concern. Is this any reason to be concerned about Naomi Osaka?
No, I think she already grabbed the number 1 spot, and she knows clay is not her best surface, or thinks clay is not her best surface, and she said, well, you know what, I don't want to put 100% into this right now. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. There is absolutely no worry in my mind of Naomi Osaka being hurt, much outside of something that she kind of telegraphed before this tournament started in the first place. There was... she probably was a bit tired after the Vekic match.
Well,
went 3 sets.
Well, there was an interview before this tournament started where she indicated, I am not great on clay, I admit that, and that it wouldn't be shocking if she was injured. Now, if she got injured this clay court season, now that's a quote from her. I read it today out of her quote. Interview, I'm not good on clay. I wouldn't be surprised if I lost, something along these lines, and I wouldn't be surprised if I get injured. So it's not, again, I'm not saying it was, premeditated by any way, shape, or form, but she spoke about these same things. And then the injury happened, and it was a mild abdominal
What
strain.
about Azarenka? Same thing. She's pulled out of 2 tournaments. She was one in Mexico with Muguruza in the finals, pulled out, retired from that final, and then she did the same thing here at this tournament, pulled out.
I would. The only reason why I would
she was down as well again.
Well, the only reason why I would put more emphasis on Azarenka being injured at any point, forget about these examples, just because she's had a child, she's a little bit older, she's been through a lot of emotional stuff off the court that involve family and brutal court trials and divorce and other things. But neither here nor there. Back to Naomi Osaka though. She openly joked about being bad on clay. She openly joked about, wouldn't it be just my luck to get injured on clay? It happened. She's been openly involved in off-court partying, rap star, boyfriend type deal, Instagram photos, video games. My deal here is I don't know. I know she's won 2 majors, but I don't know where her focus is, and I don't know whether to really buy into any injury issues whatsoever. I think, in my opinion, and I told you this past year after she won the Australian Open, her second major, second one, I told you and everyone on the show, go back and look, that she would never win another major. And everybody laughed at me. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Then Andreescu comes around shortly after that, and then everybody forgets about Osaka and jumped on the Andreescu train. All I'm saying is, at this level, I do not think Osaka wins another major. I don't know what it is about some of these young ladies that get wrapped up in the limelight, and next thing you know, they no disrespect to rap artists, but they tend not to be very influential in a positive way on young women, especially athletes. No offense, but it's just the truth. I think at this point, Osaka needs to find her discipline once again, injured or not, if she wants to win another major. But I'm not saying that she's not hurt or she is hurt, but I don't think her focus right now, by what I am seeing, is 100% tennis at this point. That's all I'm saying. Would you agree or disagree?
I don't think she cares much about the clay. So
yeah. So
I think she'll come around for Wimbledon when grass season starts.
So would you, Carla, put Naomi Osaka on a fantasy team as one of your top 5 players for the French Open?
No.
I wouldn't either.
No way.
All right, moving forward, we're going to quickly discuss the 4 tournaments that we did shows on last week and did not do our final show. So we're going to real quick run through the winners of those tournaments, as I'm sure you probably already know. Petra Kvitova, obviously the Czech player from the Czech Republic, took out Anett Kontaveit. That is after Kontaveit won the walkover from Osaka. What are your thoughts here, Carl? Is this a big win for Kvitova?
I mean, it's a big win because she doesn't do as well in clay, so that was a good match for her. I mean, I had her beating Bertens the match before that, and she won in 3 sets. You said Bertens would win, and then she beat Kontaveit. She should be Kontaveit on clay. She is the better player. I don't think it's a big deal, maybe for confidence, but not a big deal in clay. I'm not putting Kvitova in my top 5 either in my bracket.
We spoke earlier in this show about some of the top players that have the money in their pockets or the ability to maybe slow it down a little bit and maybe not put forth a lot of energy. I think Kvitova won this tournament by putting forth a lot of energy. I watched a lot of these matches, and some were 3-setters, and I think there was a couple of them that were 3-setters. Kvitova I like a lot, by the way. One of my favorite players. Really like Petra a lot. I don't have her on my radar at the French Open really at all. I mean, great if she won it, great, but I don't have her on my radar. I don't even think I would put her on my fantasy team. I would like to see Kvitova at this point actually throttle down and get ready for Wimbledon at this point. You know,
I would too.
Maybe let her put the 75%. And again, we've been on this discussion all show. Top players will throttle back. We've seen Federer not even play the French for the past couple of years. Some players don't play Wimbledon. Kevin Anderson isn't playing the French because he wants to prepare for Wimbledon. But if you don't have those type of pocketbooks and you get the bid to play, of course you're going to play because you need the money to pay your coaches.
But she's got money.
But that's what I'm saying. She has money. So if I were Kvitova, I think I would throttle back here, play the French, maybe.
I think she's doing it though because she's lost a lot of matches this year. Matches she should have won, you know, and she's trying to get that confidence back.
Yeah, I like Kvitova a lot. I don't have her on my radar at the French. Maybe I'd have her as maybe my 5 seed on my fantasy team, but that'd be highly doubtful. But we'll see. I think it was a great win for sure, but I don't think that if she grinds too many more tournaments out on this surface, that it will increase her chances of winning Wimbledon, which I think she can definitely do.
Definitely.
All right, Dominic Thiem beats Rafael Nadal in Barcelona. Thoughts?
6-4, 6-4. I didn't get to watch the match. We were working, so when he lost the first set, I said, ooh. I think he's done. I don't think he's going to go battle at 3 sets. A bit shocked, but Thiem is a good player and could beat Nadal on clay. He's one of those few players that could beat him on a good day, if he's having a real good day. And he did have a good day. And good for him. I mean, he won this tournament. That's 2 titles this year.
I think, well, yeah, he beat Federer in Indian Wells, and then he beat Nadal here.
Well, he beat Medvedev pretty convincingly, 6-4, 6-0, 6-0.
Well, Medvedev's still young and going. I do think that I would take Medvedev as one of my lower seeded players on my fantasy team, though. If he was outside of maybe ranking 17 through 32, I'd probably take him. But again, we won't get into this match. We talked about it earlier, but Dominic Thiem, again, strikes the ball very well. He hits very hard, a lot of times not fully flat, but he can hit hard and he can hit flat, and he has a good way of penetrating through the clay when he hits. So what we had, and I know we didn't watch the match, but your father, again, wonderful coach, lifetime tennis player, basically broke it down in a way that he was hitting short, being Nadal, and Thiem was able to step in and actually hit through the ball and through the court. So Thiem is one of those players on clay where his game doesn't actually slow down that much. The other players' game tend to slow down a little bit more than Thiem, with Thiem's aggressive shot making. Mm-hmm. Again, the court opens up quickly for him, and he did that against, in my opinion, a 75% healthy or 75% attempting to be healthy Rafael Nadal. But Thiem does hit through the court very well, but so does Roger Federer, and he's playing this year. So I think all bets are off with Thiem. I think if Federer faced Thiem at the French Open, just because of expertise and his maestro shot making and his ability to stay calm throughout, I think Federer wins in best of 5 on clay over Thiem, hence why I have Federer as my second choice to win the French outside of Nadal, but I still think Federer has a chance to win it. Okay? So again, Thiem's game does not slow down that much on clay. He's able to hit through the court, and that helps him out very much so. All right, the Hungarian Open, we had the Italian Matteo Berrettini that defeated Filip Krajinovic, the Serbian player. Personally, I wouldn't take either of these players as dark horses on my French Open fantasy team. That's going to be up and coming. I think Berrettini could be a good dark horse pick, I guess, to win a few rounds.
Who was in that final?
Berrettini, the Italian player, and Filip Krajinovic, the Serbian player.
Gotcha.
And that was at the Hungarian Open. Yeah. I still think Fucsovic should have played this tournament, though.
And Krajinovic also did not play the next tournament. I think Estoril Open?
Estoril, Portugal.
Because he's injured, he said.
Another player that I like a lot on clay is Albert Ramos Vinolas. But just today, he lost in the qualies at the Bavarian International Tennis Championship that's ongoing now. But again, keep your eyes out for Albert Ramos Vinolas at the French to potentially win a couple of rounds as being an unseeded player there as well. So Berrettini taking out Krajinovic. Any big thoughts as we run up to the French?
He's Italian. He plays on clay. Good for him. Good for Lajovic or for Janovic to get there. And no, they're not. Either one will be in my dark horses. No, I don't think they have enough experience nor tournaments, to make it deep into the clay season. Yeah, I mean, into the clay Grand Slam tournament.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Berrettini is to tennis as Cecchinato is to tennis. Or
Opelka on hardcourt.
Yeah, I mean, but Berrettini is the Cecchinato, but Cecchinato I think is even better. So if I had to pick one of the Canadian dirt baller players, I would go with Cecchinato. But I don't think I would have either.
Italian, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're both Italian.
Yes.
All right, so a great win for Berrettini, though. Again, just to let you know who won that tournament as we were discussing it. In Istanbul, Petra Martic. She's a good player. She's been a good player for a while. I think she's about 27 or 28 now. She's
Martic French?
No, she's from the Czech Republic, I think.
Czech Republic, okay.
No, Croatia. She's Croatian.
Okay.
Petra Martic is from Croatia.
Okay.
But she won this tournament. Now, she is someone that I would consider to put on my French Open fantasy team. Not because you hear a lot about her, but I know she is a really good, let's say, deep fighting tennis player, and she always has been. I'm not gonna say I would pick her on my French Open team, but she beat a talented Vondrousova in the final there. Yeah, and she played that match well. So watch out for Petra Martic to make some noise at the French Open. I think she could do that, and I very well may pick her on my fantasy team. All right, so current tournaments we have ongoing, and I'll do this quickly. We have Munich, Germany. Qualies are still ongoing in some first rounds, so I'll just give you the seeds, and we'll discuss them later in the week. Number 1 seed there, Sasha Zverev, or Alexander. Karen Khachanov, 2nd seed, and Cecchinato, the Italian we were just talking about.
Yep, and Berrettini, I saw, won his first round today. He beat Easterme.
Second tournament ongoing, Estoril Open in Portugal. We used to have young Federer and Djokovic and Nadal play this tournament, but
they can't afford to pay them.
They can't afford to pay them to come there anymore, like we were talking about earlier. Top seeds there, Stefano Tsitsipas, the Greek, Fabio Fognini, the Italian, Gael Monfils, the Frenchman who I like a lot, it's the 3 seed.
He's playing Opelka tomorrow.
So there's some good tennis going on here, and again, we are going to talk about these as today is just a catch-up day after taking 4 days off, so please excuse us if the pace is quick. Carla took 3 of our children to the doctor today and had pink eye, so I wrote this, and Carla's catching up with me. So if it seems off pace and maybe not as planned out, then it's my fault, and good old Mother Nature with the doctor's appointment. All right, so we read some articles over the past week about why players aren't playing some of these smaller tournaments anymore with the likes of the Nadals and the Serena Williamses, any of the really big elite players, is they just can't afford to give them the money that they want to come. So it's no shock that we don't have those guys here, and plus with their age, surely rest is helping out as well. There are 2 ATP 1000s in the next 2 weeks. We will have Madrid, followed by Rome. So we will have a busy 2 weeks
upcoming. We'll have
upcoming.
the top players playing, which is awesome. Novak Djokovic is playing, Federer's playing, Nadal's playing, Serena's playing. That's great.
Yeah, I think Federer's just playing Madrid, though.
Yeah, just Madrid. But what I'm saying is, at least we'll get to see the top guys.
Yeah, and so
I know some of our viewers don't watch these smaller tournaments because they want to see Novak play.
All right, moving on to women. We're running out of time. Again, sorry for the speed. We have currently in Rabat, Morocco, we have the women playing, a smaller tournament there. 1 seed being Elise Mertens, 2 seed being Su Wei Shea, 3 seed being Potty Mouth Putintseva herself. The second tournament is in Prague, which is in the Czech Republic. 1 seed there is actually Strykova.
Well, Pliskova withdrew due to viral
and Kvitova didn't play.
Yeah.
So they stuck Strykova in the top of the draw.
Well, it was Pliskova, but she withdrew.
And your second seed is Sevitsova, and your 3 seed is Xiang Wang, the young Chinese player. So there are 2 premier tournaments along with the 2 men's 1000 tournaments next week, and that is in Madrid and Rome as well. So I think, Carla, next week you and I will be wide open, and this show better take off with some noise because we're going to get into all of it.
Yes.
Let's go.
We'll have a busy couple of weeks.
Busy couple of weeks. I can't wait.
Lessons, show, and regular work, and kids, and everything else.
Yeah, so starting next week, we'll do our regular 1000s coverage as much as possible. This is our time of year where a lot of our coaching picks up. Kids are getting out of school, so we'll do our best to grind through that. Please keep topics coming because that helps me or us write these shows before we do them to come up with topics. So thank you again to Anissa Zhu and Jeffrey Kaufman, wasn't it Kaufman?
Yes.
That had the nice commentary between them that allowed us to really discuss Nadal and what's going on with him in the French Open, etc. All right, quotes of the day as we end. As always, we like to do quotes of the day. So I'm going to read 3 quotes, and we'll just go from there. All right, first quote. My grandmother started walking 5 miles a day when she was 60. She's 97 now, and we don't know where the hell she is.
That's funny. That's like really funny, actually.
Yeah, that came from Ellen DeGeneres. So I was looking up funny quotes.
She's funny.
She's funny.
It's a funny TV show.
She's quite funny, actually. So I read this, and I read it, and I was like laughing because I had a grandmother that died right at 100. And I know that she still did her absolute best to be right on top of things. And sometimes she would just forget. So when I read that, she started walking at 60. We don't know where she's at now. I thought it was hilarious. But hopefully we are all staying mentally healthy, mentally fit. Tennis is a good way to do that. And by the way, if anyone sees Grandma, let Ellen DeGeneres know. All right, number 2. Quote number 2, patriotism is your conviction that this country is superior to all others simply because you were born in it. That comes from George Bernard Shaw. Such a true statement. In other words, if you didn't hear that or understand it correctly, in other words, the moral of the story is a lot of people think because they're born in one country that their country is therefore the greatest. The beautiful part about tennis is that if you like the game, if you're a student of the game, if you care about the game, it makes all of us one big community without borders. So that for me was a nice comment to read to compare to tennis, because with tennis there are no boundaries. It's just a court and everybody sharing the game, at least in the majority of cases over the 40 years of tennis that I've been around.
Very true.
All right, last quote of the day. You know, okay, I'm going to clear my throat for this one. This is a good one. All right. You know you are getting old when you stoop down to tie your shoelaces and wonder what else you could do while you were down there. And that comes from George Burns. Meaning, George Burns is a very old comedian, and you may not even know who George Burns is.
Yes.
He wore the round glasses,
yes,
and he was a very funny, witty guy. I watched a lot of George Burns in my days of growing up, the black and white stuff. And you probably don't understand this, because if I don't want to talk about this on air, but Carla has very muscular legs, like boom, boom. So she doesn't have to worry about knee issues. At least she's lucky enough not to. But about a year or 2 years ago, I started having really difficult knee issues, like bending down hurt, getting up hurt. Once I get going, fine. But once they get cold, oh man, it takes me about an hour to get going. And sometimes when I have to tie my shoe and I get down there, I promise you there's times where I'm like, what else can I grab down here? Because if I have to get back down, it might be uncomfortable to get back up.
Okay.
So the moral of the story is hey, as you age, if you're tying your shoes, you might want to think about another task that you can do while you're down there, because it's better to get it done while you are there.
Well, sort of like going up the stairs. Might as well get everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can make a moral of that story with anything. I think a lot of times we might go to the store. We come back because we're in a hurry, but we realize we have to go back to the store to go to another store that was right next to the store we just went to. But we were in too much of a hurry. We had to go do twice as much work.
Yes.
I mean, you can make a moral about this on the tennis court if you wanted to, right?
Sure.
Get the match over with while you can. Why give them a second shot? Take the first shot. Get the point over with. Come up to the net, volley it away. Get it all done while you're there. Or go back and forth like Nadal and Djokovic and wear yourself out by the time you're 32. Do that too. Either way. All right, that is it, everyone. Sorry if the pace was super fast today. Thank you for not bailing on us after we weren't here for the last, say, 4 days. We were here, but just not really breathing outside of grinding really hard. I think we are caught up now at this point.
Yes, definitely.
So we will see you. Today's Tuesday, more than likely Thursday. I mean, yes, by Thursday.
Yes, you'll see us
and then starting next week for the 1000s, we're going to be pushing a lot of shows with these 1000 tournaments. Talk about anything in comments below. Give us any topics in comments below. And Carla and I try to do our absolute best to respond almost immediately, no matter what time the comments come. Please share our videos. Click like below. Please feel free to contribute to our channel. If you don't know how to do so, there is a down arrow to the right of the title on a mobile device, or just below it on a computer, and it expands a description field, and you can see links to Cash App or PayPal there. So thanks so much. Please subscribe to our channel, and we will see you Thursday. See you soon, and as Carla always says,
Adios.
See ya.